Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Elite Dangerous on the PlayStation 4. Now since the end of the last video I've made a bit of progress. I've upgraded my ship somewhat and in a moment we'll have a look at what that's all about. What I've been doing is a few mission runs. The missions on the mission board here that we walked through previously. One of the missions I highly recommend you do if you haven't made much money yet are the delivery missions. They deliver anything up to 100,000 credits per run, and I'm actually looking at this mission here which is 400,000 credits. Now if it does, if the server picks up, if the standby message goes away, I'm actually going to quickly collect that and we'll do that today. It's quite a lot of money and hopefully it's a relatively easy mission, but it may be a bit more difficult and I may die on it, but we're going to give it a try. As I mentioned just now, I have been doing a load of delivery missions, although not all stations actually have those, but they were worth using if you can find them. All you have to do is ship a few units of cargo. It will depend on how many units you can actually carry, but for the early missions it's about 2 units. Can be a lot more if you've got a bigger ship. And yeah, there's one good example. 82,000 credits for a delivery to Rebuy, and that's only 3 light years away. So I'll quickly show you one of them right now. We'll accept that. That's a nice chunk of money.
At maximum capacity.
And what I've been doing with that money, we can look over here. Currently got 45,000 credits with a rebuy cost on my ship that's now worth 27,000 credits. And if we go along right on the D-pad, we can have a look at our assets. I think that's what we want to look at here. Yeah, we can see my current assets are 596,000 credits, and I've actually spent 550,000 credits on my ship. So if we go over to outfitting, I'll show you what I've upgraded. Now I could have used that money to buy a better ship, but personally I prefer to stick with the Sidewinder for as long as possible and just keep upgrading it to make it as best as it can possibly be. Now the outfitting screen seems to be taking a while to load up here. It seems there's some sort of server lag going on, so I guess we're just going to have to wait that out. You'll notice the colour of my ship is red. I did apply some livery. I've got 6 different ship skins that come with the purchase, it seems. Right, so hardpoints are still default, I haven't changed them just yet. Utility mounts, what I did here was put in a chaff launcher. Chaff you can use when an enemy ship is targeting you. If they're using gimbaled weapons or turreted weapons, you can deploy some chaff and that will break the lock temporarily, or at least mess with their lock rather than break it. And I've also put on here a shield booster. These enhance the performance of your shields. They're quite expensive. Core internal. I've upgraded the power plant to 2B. I would have gone slightly higher, but that's the most I could afford at the time. Now these increase the capacity of the energy that's available to your ship. So by default you have a 2E. Let's have a look at 2E. You can see that the power capacity is 6.4 megawatts, but with the 2B that goes up to 8.8 megawatts, so quite a lot of difference. I would have liked a 2A, like I say. It gives me a grand total of 9.6 megawatts, but that's a little bit more expensive than I was able to pay at the particular time. Also upgraded the thrusters to 2A. Now these will give me improved speed as well as improved maneuverability. As you saw before, I've upgraded the frameshift drive. I think in the previous video I had 2B, but I've since upgraded that to a 2A. And the power distributor, I actually recommend that's the second module you should upgrade. The power distributor doesn't give you enhanced power capacity. What it does is allows your different power blocks to charge much faster. So your weapon block, your engine capacitor as well as your systems capacitor will charge much faster with an improved distributor. I haven't upgraded these sensors yet, but I recommend doing so because they are pretty good. But I want to save out. I want to keep a little bit of money before I go and do that. And the optional internals, if you do have some money, you can upgrade the shields. I've upgraded to some 2C biweaves. Biweaves actually recharge a little bit faster than regular shields, but they still haven't got a massive capacity, but they're a lot better than just the regular default ones. So that's where we're at the moment, and what we're going to do now is go out and deliver this cargo to Rebuy, I believe it was, and then we're going to go do the power down the settlement mission. I want to do that because it's a surface mission, which is what I want to show you all about. And actually, while we're here, one of the reasons I've wanted to do that is because I want to show you the engineers. If you haven't looked at that, you can access these from your right panel. Now, engineers are the people you need to go visit when you want to do upgrades to your ships, module upgrades, or what in other online games would probably be classed as crafting. You need to gather materials together, give these guys some materials, and they will craft some upgrades for you. And these different people will do different sorts of upgrades for you. Felicity Farseer is all about upgrading frameshift drives, it says there, frameshift drives, engines and thrusters, and they all have different unlock requirements. Felicity requires an exploration rank of Scout, which unfortunately I don't have just yet. We are still aimless, we haven't done any exploration at all. Elvira Martok again is all about frameshift drives. Now fortunately she doesn't require a rank requirement to unlock, but she does require us to have travelled a total of 300 light years from our start system, which is quite a way in a low capacity or low jump range ship. The Dweller is all about power distributors. He's got his own unlock requirements, and so have all the others. Todd the Blaster McQuinn is about weapons. So what we're going to do is go out, we're going to do that surface mission, and we're going to have a look at gathering some surface materials that we can use for the engineers. So let's launch, head off to Ibutis, and then we'll go and try and do that surface mission. So one very quick journey later, here we are at Chango Dock, and we can hand in our cargo delivery and get ourselves 80,000 credits. So you may probably at this point you may have upgraded your ship to something much better than a Sidewinder. It depends how much money you've really made in the meantime. And like I say, personally I prefer to stick with the Sidewinder as long as possible. I prefer to upgrade the modules to improve the functionality of the ship, rather than having an advanced ship with the low spec modules. But of course if you've upgraded to a Cobra or something like that, then you will have better functionality because they can carry far more cargo and they've got a much better jump range. Not to mention, they're also much better in combat. So let's hand this mission in. There'll probably be another one here, but I'm not going to pick it up, as tempting as it may be, because we want to get on and there we go. We want to get on and get to that surface mission. Now surface missions are only available to Horizons owners of Elite Dangerous. If you've got the base version, you won't get these types of missions. And you can see right there, now there's a surface icon there, like the little sun coming up over the horizon of a planet. That means it's a surface mission, and you also need Horizons to do that, because you need Horizons to get down onto the planets. Let's just see if there is any other surface missions I can do. Doesn't look like it. Right, so where have we got to go? We've got to head to the Weird System and the planet there on Grijava's Inheritance. Right, so that's where we're going to go. And we'll be there in just a moment. So then, when you arrive in the system where you've got your planetary surface mission, what you need to do is look for the planet that you want to land on. There's some weird stuff going on with the sound here, that's for sure. All the audio from my engines cut off earlier. There's no boost or anything like that. And now the music is jumping louder at one moment than the other. Now if you go to your nav panel, you can look for the mission icon here, which is on the planet lister or the moon lister. You can tell which planets are landable if they've already been scanned. They will have a little landing icon there. You can see the little blue icon there. Looks like something out of an 8-bit era game. So let's head towards that planet. It's quite close, under 1,000 light seconds away. Now when you've got a mission for a particular base, that will be listed in the mission description. We've got to power down at this particular settlement. Now the plus next to it indicates the size of the settlement. 1+ I believe is the smallest. or maybe even the stations, their settlements rather, without the plus at the smallest. I can't quite remember, but they go up to 3 pluses next to them, which indicates the largest. They also all come with different levels of security. Ideally you want one with low security. The ones with high security can be a little bit harder to get into. Now powering them down usually involves you scanning one of the modules that's within the settlement itself, and we can do that from within our SRV. Now the SRV is our vehicle, our surface vehicle, where we can drive around on the planetary surface. Again, you can only get one of these if you've got Horizons, and if you look down, the square button and down, you can see your SRV is there. Now if you haven't got one equipped, you will need to make sure you buy one from a station, otherwise you're not going to be able to drive around or complete the mission when you get to the planet here. Now approaching the planet, it's important to keep your speed well within the blue zone of your throttle there. That's the bar to the right of my menu. And when you approach the planet, you can see the inheritance settlement is right in front of us. We don't want to approach that directly. If you imagine if we approach the planet directly, when we get within the planet's gravitational pull, if it was an atmospheric planet, when we get within the atmosphere of the planet, we'd be heading straight down towards the surface, and we don't want to be doing that. We want to be coming in at a slight angle. So try and position yourself so that you do come in at an angle, and you can see we're now at 8 megameters away from the surface there, and we're going at a reasonably decent speed. And to the right of the HUD now, there's a orbital cruise indicator. We're about to come into orbital cruise, which will be marked by OC. We're currently at 2 megameters from the planetary surface. That little bar indicates our height from the ground. So as that comes down, you'll soon see we get a little notification that we've entered orbital cruise. Bit of a glitch there as the capture card cut out yet again, so it's something I need to try and fix at some point. I'm not sure what's going on there. But we don't want to get too low. We're now at 300 kilometers from the planetary surface, but we're still a distance of 1 megameter, over 1 megameter from the settlement. So what I try and do is angle down so that I'm 100 kilometers away from the settlement and 100 kilometers or about 50 kilometers above the surface of the planet at the same time. So try and keep it at an angle that will give you those sort of distances. Once you get between 60 kilometers from the planet's surface and 30 kilometers, your ship will enter glide mode. And you don't want to do that at too great a distance from the area that you want to land at. If you do, then you're going to basically come out of your high-speed entry far too early, and that's what we're going to do now if we're not careful. So if you think you're going to come out too early, just angle up a little bit. And you can see on the bottom left of the HUD there, we're now 250 kilometers away from the settlement, and we're going to start angling down again now. Does mean we have a slightly steeper entry, but this is all about trying to come out of your high-speed travelling at the correct distance from the area that you want to arrive at. Otherwise it means you've got to travel over the surface of the planet at regular speed, and it's going to take you a very, very long time to do that. And here you can see we've now hit 50 kilometers and 50 kilometers from the surface, and we've now dropped out of orbital cruise into glide mode. So glide mode, we're travelling at 2,500 meters a second, so still very, very high speed, and we're now 84 kilometers away from the settlement. And it will look at one point that we're approaching at a far too fast. You might think you're going to crash into the surface, but that will not happen. You can hear already we're starting to slow down. Well, it sounds like we're slowing down, but if you look at the speed indicator, we're still travelling at 2,500 meters a second. And here you can see, there you can see the ground approaching quite fast. Now, unfortunately, this is quite a dark area. So let's see, we're going to slow down for a second, and we're going to do something about that. A little bit too dark probably for the purposes of the video. Now, some surfaces do brighten up when you get near them, but not all of them. This one's a little bit darker than I'd like. For the purpose of the videos anyway, some areas are very, very atmospheric, and I love them being completely dark, and it usually means you have to rely on your vehicle lights when you start driving around on the surface. Now, this one isn't as dark as all that, but it's darker than I would like, at least for a video where I'm trying to show you how to play the game. Now, one way of doing these missions, we've got to take out the generator here. One way of doing it would be from your ship. You could equip it with missiles and simply spam the missiles from up high. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to get out in the SRV and take the difficult route. So we don't want to get too close to the settlement here, because it might be hostile to us. Sometimes they have a protective area. Another thing you want to check out is the planet's gravity. This is down. See the level indicator, the altitude indicator is currently 1.6 or 4.6 meters. Below that is our planetary coordinates, and below that is 1.14 G, and that indicates the gravitational strength of the planet here. So it's 1.14 times the strength of gravity on Earth. So anything over 1 G, it means you might have a little bit of trouble landing there, because you can cause damage to your ship if you land a little bit too hard. So try and land as gently as you can. On lower grav planets, it's much easier to land. On higher grav planets, you will have a problem. Sometimes you'll find planets 2 or 3 times the G of Earth. They do go up to as much as 13 times or more, and they are bounced around a little bit. But we're now landed, and we can use the square button, look down, get to our SRV and select deploy, and that will put us outside in our vehicle. Now, if you've never driven the SRV before, it can be a little bit awkward to drive. The accelerator is on the right D-pad, or the right, no, not the right D-pad, the right trigger rather, and the reverse should be on the left trigger. Handbrake, if you want that, is on the circle button. Your square button enables the turrets, and you can fire here. Square button puts you back into the turret, and one of the buttons should be the boost mode, which I think is going to be the square button, but that doesn't seem to be. Oh, boost is L3. Okay, so a little bit different to what I'm used to. Now what we want to do is drive towards the settlement here, and what there'll be is the settlement power grid. Now this, we want to deal with that. Now see what happened there? That's a problem. Sometimes if you're driving too fast, you will crash into some of the rocks, and you can see we've taken 10% damage to our hull from doing that. So try and avoid the larger rocks, or else try not to drive at full speed. Now as we're approaching the base here, you can see there's a whole bunch of defense turrets here. Some of them will be ground turrets that attack your vehicle, other ones will be air defense that attack your ship. So you want to try and avoid these, but generally they won't start attacking you until you give them cause to do so. Now giving them cause to do so could involve scanning the wrong thing, it would involve opening fire on something here, or it may be standing in the defense perimeter too long. So what we need to do is get into the settlement here and deal with this settlement power grid. Now if we're fortunate, the power grid will be on the outside of the settlement, as it appears to be here, maybe. Otherwise it's going to be inside the settlement, and that's exactly where it looks like it is, right inside the settlement. So if it's inside, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to actually get to. We've got to get in the settlement through these doorways. Now usually there's a couple of ways of dealing with that. You can either try and boost in over the top of the doorway, but you can't always do that. Alternatively, you need to power it down and you can drive through. Powering down the doors then is done by interacting with these security interfaces here. What you need to do is scan them. You've got a data link inbuilt into your SRV, and just make sure that you've got that bound to a key here on your fire groups. It's bound to the second fire group, which is L1 on the controller. And once you've got that done, you can select your target and just simply scan it. We can then start scanning. Hopefully this should then power down the doors. Now that means we can get inside the... You can see there's a ship flying around here. Now these are defensive ships, and they will attack you if you get hostile, so you do have to watch out for them. They're quite a good shot actually in taking out the SRVs. But this should mean that the doorway is now powered down. The red shield that was there a moment ago So we should now be able to get into the settlement. There's a ramp here, and you can see that this door in particular is powered down. So in we go, and we're going to look for the power plant. Is this the one? Settlement power grid, right there. It's actually over here somewhere. Oh, it's the wrong base. So that does happen sometimes. You're not quite where you think you are. Let's have a look then. I'm going to use the external camera for a minute. Right, so unfortunately we're in completely the wrong place, and the door over there is still powered up, but it looks like there's an easy way in anyway. And you're no doubt telling me that I should have seen that just now. I'm sure I drove past that bit right at the start as I got to this base, but well, there you go. Right, unfortunately I had another cutout of the capture card there. It's really not doing its job all that well, is it? Now, sometimes, like you've noticed here, we're fortunate enough to find an easy way into the base, like I have here, around the side of the base. Sometimes you can get in, like I say, you can fly over the walls, or simply drive in, depending on what the base's placement. And there is the power grid. Now what we've got to do is we've got to destroy this, and we will activate the settlement's defences here, so hopefully we can be a little bit quicker here, because... oh, come on. Right, now we've got to get out of here as quickly as we can, because we're going to take a lot of damage. Now, whilst the weapons here are quite powerful, generally you can outrun them. It will depend on your driving skills and the nature of the terrain here. And if you're on an icy world, or a particularly bouncy, rocky world, it will flip and bounce all over the place. But any moment now, hopefully, we should outrun these people. I've put more pips into systems, which should hopefully recharge our shields a little bit faster. Use the boost to get over the rocks. Okay, so we're now being hit by that defense ship that I pointed out earlier. Got quite powerful weapons. Now, usually your ship will stay within range. It'll come under attack if it's still on the ground. But for some reason, mine has gone away. But we're going to need to recall it. Oh, let's make sure we're travelling correctly here. Oops, I've gone into turret mode there. We need the recall ship one in just a moment. And you can see we're now well out of range of the settlement. There are other ways of doing that, of course. You can come in force with friends and take out all the defences. Or, as I said earlier, you can come here with a vehicle, or a ship rather, that's equipped with missile racks and try and take out the mission objective from the air. Much easier. This is far from the easiest way of doing it. And it's all too easy for things to go wrong. But at the same time, it's quite a bit of fun as well. In fact, I'll probably show you another video later, the alternative way of doing it. Now, things haven't gone ideally on this mission, but if nothing else, it serves as showing you what pitfalls to try and avoid. Now, I've been so busy yakking that I forgot to recall my ship, and I'm probably going to pay the price for this. It looks like we're being chased by the... yeah, I thought so. Might have left it a little bit too late to recall the ship. We're still being chased by the settlement's defensive ship. Now, I thought that had given up and gone back. Turns out what it had done is flown away to circle around. Hopefully our own ship is going to return any time now. And you can see there the hollow green indicator on the radar. That's our own ship. It will have come under attack by the hostile ship as well. Unfortunately, my ship hasn't landed particularly close. But no matter, we can hopefully get over there before the hostile ship comes around again. And there you can see my own vessel just touching down. Doing quite a good job, hopefully. But it's still quite a distance away. You know, I'm really starting to feel at this point that I should have brought those missile racks and come here and done the mission in the easy way. That said, this is probably a lot more interesting to watch. Now, bringing the missile racks does make the mission a lot easier, and it does mean you can rack up your credits that much faster. But you can soon fall into a grind mindset if you follow that route. It's unfortunate my ship had flown back up into space. It would have been easier if it had remained right nearby. But yeah, it can go a bit tits up like this. And it's not the ideal way of getting things done. Bouncing around nicely here. So board your ship. Look down at the panel at the bottom. You can board your ship. Now it's quite likely that my ship will also be coming under attack now. So we want to get out of here quite quickly. These sorts of missions are always a risk. You don't know how they're going to go. And this is a problem if we're getting server lag when transferring back into our ship. Meanwhile, we're probably coming under attack from the hostile ship. There we go.
Hull integrity compromised.
Yeah.
Hull
So that means our
integrity
shield's down. And now we're dead. Dead thanks to server lag. So hardly ideal, is it? The servers seem to be in a right state at the moment. This should have gone down quite easy. Should have gone down much easier than that. Unfortunately, it didn't go how I planned. So then, here we are at our ship's Rebuy screen. Chances are at this point in the game you've already seen this, but I will point out that it's well worth paying attention here and paying some care, because it's all too easy to accidentally choose the free Sidewinder option. If I do that, I'll end up back in the ship I originally started in without all the upgraded modules. Now the old loadout has got a premium price on it, or a discounted price should I say, 19,000 credits, and that will recover the entire worth of my ship. As I've spent quite a lot of money, you saw 550,000 credits on modules, and that's quite a good price. If you haven't got enough money to cover the cost, you can discount the thing here by removing some of the other modules. That will discount the rebuy cost. But fortunately I've got enough money to cover this. Now the game will also give you an extra insurance value. It'll give you a loan to cover any costs you can't quite afford. But fortunately I can afford it. So we're going to confirm that, and we'll find ourselves back in the previous station that we docked at, which if you remember was Chango Dock in the Ibutis system. And yes, we want to confirm our old loadout. So yeah, the servers certainly seem to be in a little bit of a pickle today. Not quite sure what's going on, but it's been noticeable throughout this entire play session. I did intend to show you some material collection down on the planet's surface, but with the way things are at the moment, I think I'll save that for the next video. So then, even though a lot of things did go wrong on that particular mission, I hope it does serve as some help for you. If nothing else, it'll show you what not to do. So then, I'll be back soon with some more videos. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.